Space, the final frontier. This is the Observer's Notebook, the official podcast of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. Its mission to explore the solar system, to seek out new observations and data, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. And now the host of the Observer's Notebook, Tim Robertson.
Welcome to episode 162 of the Observer's Notebook, the official podcast of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. My name is Tim Robertson. I'm the host of the Observer's Notebook and also the coordinator of the training program within the ALPO. Thanks for downloading and listening. ALPO collects and analyzes observations of various solar system bodies and associated phenomena, and publishes detailed reports concerning these bodies in its quarterly publication, the Journal of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. This podcast depends upon donations from you. That's right, you, our listeners, to keep it going. If you enjoy what you hear in the podcast, you can donate to it via Patreon. You can start off by giving as little as $1 a month. If you feel even more generous, for $5, you receive early access to the podcast before it goes public. For a monthly donation of $10, you receive a copy of the Novice Observer's Handbook. And for $35 a month, you receive producer credits on the podcast. You can find out more at www.patreon.com/observersnotebook. If you'd like to join the ALPO, membership begins at only $22 a year. For more information, find us at www.alpo-astronomy.org. And we're also on Facebook. Just search for ALPO Astronomy. And this podcast also has a Facebook page as well. Just search for Observer's Notebook. And if you enjoy what you hear in the podcast, please subscribe. That way you'll never miss another episode. And now, episode 162, and we're talking meteor showers, and that must mean Bob Lunsford. Enjoy. All right, I'd like to welcome everybody back to this edition of the Observer's Notebook, and we are talking meteor showers. That means we're talking to Bob Lunsford. Welcome to the podcast, Bob.
Thank you very much. Good to be back.
Yeah.
It's been a long winter without much meteor activity.
Yeah.
We've had some nice fireballs lately.
Oh.
And we actually had 3 fireballs in a row drop meteorites. So that was pretty cool.
And were those all recovered?
Yes, believe it or not. The first one fell over France, and it was actually discovered about 6 hours before it entered the atmosphere.
Oh, my.
So that was pretty cool. And a lot of folks saw it from Britain and France, and it landed just a few miles from the coastline in Normandy and was recovered just a few days later. And that same week, there was another one recovered in Italy. And then we had one in Texas that surprisingly, we didn't have a whole lot of observers on that. The other ones had several hundred. This was way down in north of Rio Grande and McAllen, that area there. So we only had about 20 reports, but believe it or not, somebody went out there and found it on this guy's ranch. So
wow. Now the one that landed in France, I mean, that's the one that we saw ahead of time.
That's true. Yes.
Could they closely predict where it was going to land, or?
Yes, and it was very close to the prediction. So that was very cool.
Oh, nice.
Like I said, it was only a few miles from the coast.
Yeah.
So if they had been off, it would have been in the drink, which would have been too bad.
Yeah.
But it's been an exciting winter for meteors, fireballs and meteorites. But for the overall meteor activity, not so much. This is a doldrums time for us. The southern hemisphere enjoys their highest sporadic rates this time of year, but the meteor showers are pretty dull. So
we're going to talk about the Lyrids today.
We have the Lyrids coming up in April. They're active basically the second half of April, beginning around the 15th, and they're a shower that radiate from actually the border of Hercules and Lyra, probably about 7 degrees southwest of the bright star Vega, which everybody knows. And that this time of year, it rises about 10 o'clock in the evening. But you really don't want to try to see any meteors then, because most of them are actually going to be shooting down, I mean, be covered by trees or even below the horizon.
Yeah.
So you only see a small fraction of the actual activity when the radiant lies close to the horizon. So it's best to wait to, at least till midnight, even a little bit later, to see the Lyrids at their best.
Okay.
Actually, serious people, get up at 3 a.m. and then watch between 3 and dawn. At that time, it's very high in the sky, almost at zenith for some folks.
Okay.
And if anything's going to happen, that would be the time. So,
okay.
For 2023, the circumstances are good. There's a new moon, I believe, on the 23rd, which coincides with the maximum.
Oh, fantastic!
And another good thing about that is that's on a Saturday.
Oh, even better.
So, yeah. So it's not often that happens. So whenever you can plan a meteor shower for the weekend, that's certainly great. Happens to be Earth Day too. So that's pretty cool.
All celebrations.
Yeah. We've taken the last 20 years and figured out when the maximums happen for the shower. And if it happens at the same time, which probably it won't, things never cooperate like it's supposed to, but it's predicted for 6 p.m. Pacific time or 9 p.m. Eastern time, daylight time, that is, on that Saturday evening.
Okay.
So, and to be honest, the closer you are to the maximum, the better it is. So I think the East Coast of North America will be a little bit better situated than the West.
Okay.
And folks that are over in Europe will see it peak just before dawn, so they'll be better shape than us if it behaves as expected.
Yeah.
Now, I've been out there on the peak morning, but probably 12 or 18 hours away from it. And I've been out in the desert and the dark skies, and I've seen just a trickle of meteors. So on the other hand, when I was closer to the maximum, I've been in my front yard where the sky's not nearly as good, but I've seen 10 to 15 an hour.
Oh my.
So, well, what can you say? It's a crapshoot.
Yeah. Now, how bright are these typically?
You know what? They can produce fireballs, and a majority of them are easily visible to the naked eye. So, but if you really want to take advantage of it, you probably want to find the darkest site possible, because as the old saying goes, the more stars you can see, the more meteors you'll see.
That's true.
But they're not shy of being bright. I've seen a few Lyrid fireballs, and the velocity on these are probably a medium fast, not quite as fast as the Perseids, but still fast enough to produce a persistent train, which is a kind of a smoke, a streak of smoke after the meteor's actually disappeared. And these normally last half second or a second after it's gone. And if you ever get one that lasts up to 5 seconds, it's fascinating. You can see them twist and turn in the upper atmosphere. So that's very cool.
That's it. Now, how many observers do you usually have for like the Lyrids?
Not a whole lot. I don't know if it's the weather that time of year, but you think it'd be improving. But doesn't seem to drum up a whole lot of excitement. You know, not like the Geminids or the Perseids. But that's why we actually need more observers to try for showers like this. You know, this one and the Ursids, not the more popular, but they do have surprises. The Lyrids produced an outburst back in 1982. No one expected it. We've found out the reason for that is every 60 years there seems to be a denser concentration of meteors within the orbit of the Lyrids. This happened when the comet was at perihelion back in 1862.
And what comet also happened?
I beg your pardon?
What comet was that?
Oh, Comet Thatcher.
Okay.
I don't know the exact name of it, but it last appeared in 1862.
Okay.
And 60 years later, in 1922, there was an outburst of about 60 Lyrids an hour. It didn't last very long, but still 60. And even going back before the last appearance of the comet. In 1802, there was a very strong appearance of the Lyrids. So if we had been a little bit more aware, 1922 and 60, 1982. Well, guess what? No one was expecting it. Right. And the East Coast got about 80 an hour for a few hours that night. And I remember I was driving out here at about 11 o'clock, and the radiant was fairly low, and yet I was surprised to see meteors like every 30 seconds while I was driving. I wasn't even paying attention to the sky. They were just shooting in front of my face.
Wow. So
naturally, when I finally got to my dark sky site, set up my lounge chair, it was over.
Of course. Wow. Well, you filed a report driving, right?
Yeah, for sure. So.
Wow. So that just means we need more observers for this meteor shower as well. I mean,
most definitely.
You don't know how many it's going to be, and it could be good. And it's a Saturday night.
It's a Saturday night. We're not expecting a rain of meteors, but some interesting activity nonetheless.
Yeah. So California, they don't say rain. Okay. Not right now.
Now, this time last year, we were doing rain dances, remember?
That's right. Now it's like, stop already.
Yeah. It's hard to get what you ask for. So.
I know, it is. So anybody else on the Lyrids you want to talk about?
Yeah, actually, just as the Lyrids start to wane, there's another shower that's related to Halley's Comet that starts intercepting the Earth. And this is known as the Eta Aquariids. And the reason for that is these meteors will appear to shoot from the star Eta Aquariid, which is located in the water bowl or water jar, whatever they call it. And more modern people call it the peace sign because it looks like an upside down peace sign in the sky. But the difference between that and the Lyrids is the Eta Aquariids are only about 45 degrees from the sun. Therefore, it only rises about 3 o'clock our time. So you're not going to see any Eta Aquariids in the evening hours.
Okay.
Now, the full moon occurs right with the maximum on this shower. So normally that would kind of put a major damper on it. But there have been studies into previous outbursts of the Eta Aquariids and its sister shower, the Orionids. They're both produced by Halley's Comet. And there have been major outbursts of both these showers in the past. And it seems that the particles from Halley's Comet encounter Jupiter every 6 years. It's called a resonance, where there's a close approach, and the particles will actually get pushed inward toward the Earth for a small section of the orbit. So now you would think every 6 years that's going to produce an outburst that at least almost twice a decade. Well, it's not quite that simple, because the Earth has to be in the right spot to intercept this. So it only actually happens about every 60 years, kind of like the Lyrids.
Okay.
So we expect the Eta Aquariids, which normally produce on a dark sky night, probably about 25 to 30 meteors an hour. Right before it starts getting light in the morning, which is probably around 4:30 to 5 for most folks in the northern hemisphere. So if you take if you were to place the radiant overhead, though, that equates to about 75 meteors an hour.
Oh my!
Taking that, a fraction of those meteors you see while it's only halfway up in the sky will be obscured by the horizon. So the zenith hourly rate, what we call it, is probably going to be close to 75 this year. So the moon is going to be low in the west, and it will obscure at least half of them if not more. It all depends on how transparent your sky is.
Right.
But still, the Ada Aquariids are very interesting meteors. They look like lances to me. They're very sharp. They're very fast because they're hitting the Earth almost head on, and a great majority of them leave persistent trains. Now, one odd thing is there's not a whole lot of fireballs from the shower, but a lot of them are still bright and, like I said, produce persistent trains. So they're very interesting to watch. And this shower is actually, it doesn't have a real sharp peak like the Lyrids. It has more of a plateau shape activity curve. So it will rise during the last few weeks of April and reach a plateau between May 1st and May 10th, and then slowly drop off during the remainder of the month of May. So on May 6th, when we're expecting the most of these 8 Aquariids, happens to be another Saturday. So we're getting lucky during the early part of 2023.
That's good.
But instead of concentrating your efforts on 1 or 2 nights, any time between, like I said, the 1st of May and the 10th, if you skies are clear, go out during the last couple hours before dawn, face toward the east, and look for these meteors to shoot upward from the eastern horizon. They're very spectacular, and they look quite unlike most of the meteors you see, which are usually much slower and will shoot in different directions.
Sounds like 2 completely different meteor showers, too.
They definitely are, yes.
That's wild. Good. Now, on the ALPO website, we have you have a blog about meteor showers and stuff, too, I believe?
Right.
Yeah.
And I always write highlights about these particular major showers per year. So I will introduce articles for the Lyrids approximately April 1st. And as soon as the Lyrids are over, I'll post another one on the 8 Aquariids, which will give a little more in-depth on where to see them. I'll include charts of the radiant and where to look, how to look. So everything basically need to have a successful meteor watch for these showers.
Okay, and I'll put a link to those locations too in the podcast notes for anybody that might be interested in doing a little bit further research on this.
Now, I would encourage folks to if you're, like I said, your skies are clear, because once the 8 Aquariids wind down, there's going to be almost 2 months before anything exciting is going to happen. From mid-May through mid-July is kind of another doldrums, and then when the 15th of July happens, it looks like someone turns on the spigot because all of a sudden, boom, you're into some Perseids, some Aquariids,
right.
Capricorns. All of a sudden, it looks like the showers are here and producing activity. So
that's right. Every year we do a summertime meteor shower podcast.
You betcha.
Yeah.
You betcha.
Now, are there books out there if people are interested in learning more about meteor showers?
Well, I just happen to have one.
You do? Funny about that. Why should I ask?
Yeah, it's called Meteors and How to Observe Them. Really original title there. But it's about 10 years old now. But I've given details on meteor showers through 2040.
Oh, wow.
So it's still good for a couple of years.
Okay, and where is that available?
It's available Amazon or any bookstore.
Okay.
And it's called Meteors and How to Observe Them. Produced by Springer, and just look for it under Robert Lunsford.
Perfect. That makes sense right there. All right, Bob. Anything else you want to share with our listeners today?
Oh, some folks might be asking about the Taw Hercules.
Okay.
That was pretty much a one-shot deal. We do expect to encounter some more particles, probably around the year 2029. So, God willing, if I'm still around, I'll be happy to give you all a warning about that.
Okay.
And I'm sure we'll have some updates because there'll be a lot of research between then and now.
Sounds
but
good.
That Memorial Day shower last year was quite fascinating and quite unique to see something so strong so early in the evening. I wish we were more like that.
Yeah, I feel that same way about comets.
Right. And don't forget to visit the ALP website and the
Mhm.
meteor sections, because I do include a weekly update, even when the moon's full. If you get the itch to go out and do a little meteor observing, it's a great way to relax, learn the sky, and see yourself a couple of good meteors, maybe even a fireball.
Yeah, and all the reports you get, you publish in there, right?
I archive them, and I do actually encourage folks to send the reports to the International Meteors Organization. They have the capability of publishing them online and comparing them with observers worldwide. So I've done it in the past where we've published pretty much American, but to get to get an overall view, it's best to have a worldwide.
Okay.
And that was basically the reason for the creation for the IMO, and we cooperate with them, share observations and fireball reports. So it's a great working relationship with them. So. But you can definitely send your observations to me via email. My address is plastered all over the ALPO website.
Yep, it's in our show notes as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you have no trouble finding them. And I always respond and encourage you, and I'll give you hints too. So.
All right. Well, sounds good. Thanks for coming on the podcast again, Bob.
My pleasure, and we'll see you again come summer.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Observer's Notebook podcast. I again want to thank Bob Lunsford for coming on and give us a very good discussion about upcoming meteor showers. Get out there and observe them. We upload new episodes of the Observer's Notebook on the 1st and 15th of every month. You can subscribe to us on iTunes. If you do, hey, give us a rating and a review. I really appreciate it. It brings more people to the podcast, which gives us more visibility. You can also listen on Apple Radio, iHeartRadio, Soundcloud, Spreaker, Google Play, Stitcher, Amazon Echo, Spotify, and we're also available on the ALPO YouTube channel. You can help support the podcast by donating to it via Patreon. You can give up to $35 a month, where you'll receive 1 year's membership to the ALPO and producer credits on the podcast. With that, I want to thank the producer of this podcast, Steve Siedentop, and Michael Moyer for their generous support of the Observer's Notebook. The link for Patreon, as well as the link for the ALPO, is available in the show notes. If you want to get a hold of me, my email address is cometman@cometman.net, or on Twitter at observersnbpod. And until next time, my hope is you always have clear and steady skies. Thanks for listening.